Everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is not a regular video for my channel. I'm just pushing this out on a Friday. I had a lengthy email from one of the viewers of the channel, and they were asking, well, a lot of it's personal stuff, so it's just easier for me to do a video rather than try to email back all this information. So I'm not going to talk about her personal background and information. Her name's Darlene. She's from Canada, and Darlene tells me a lot of information here, but then she comes down to, I have several questions and understand if you don't want to answer them. And so Darlene, just to let you know, sorry, I do not want to answer any of these questions. All right, I'm kidding. All right, let's lighten up here. All right, so she asked, one of the questions, what size in Photoshop do you have as your background? Well, it depends. If this is something that you're going to print, most places want things between 240 and 300 resolution. So sometimes to be on the safe side, I just make sure everything is 300 as a resolution, and whatever size your camera shoots at. But the resolutions, like my camera shoots 26 megapixels. I have a backup camera that shoots 24 megapixels. It's more than enough for me to do 30 by 40 prints, hands down, easy. So what I always do is start with the end in mind, and that is wherever an image can be sent, I just go to Photoshop, go to the File drop-down menu, plug in the dimensions I need for that print, whatever it is, and then you get the white document there as a starting point, and I just drag my image into that and make sure it fills that up properly. So again, it just depends on size, but I'm always thinking my starting point before I even continue on with the project or whatever. So always start with a new document the size you want. Getting off track there a little bit, but do you sell prints? Well, I don't sell them like in a gallery type thing online. Never did that, never had the interest in doing that, because everything I made money at in photography was photographing other people. I did headshots, photographing children. That was my main thing. I did a lot of children, did weddings, engagement shoots, that kind of stuff, graduation, high school graduations. And I sold prints with that. And they also got the digital. I gave them the low-res digitals, so if they want to put them on Facebook or any kind of social media, it helps promote and advertise me. But I didn't sell digital images. It was always prints. And I always paid for, I had a sitting fee for the photo session. And that's really based on your market, but that's how I made money. I worry about people. I've heard a lot of negativity. I'm sure there's some good ones. Maybe you could, if anybody's watching this, you can make comments to help Darlene out. And that is, there are services out there that claim they're going to promote you and sell your images, and they just take a cut of the profit. But a lot of times there's a setup fee and all this other stuff. And then you got to maintain the fee maybe every few months. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak about it. I've just heard from other people. And it's nothing more than a money grab. And people weren't really selling their prints, and they weren't making any money at that. So please be careful about that. She was asking how much I sold my prints for. Well, it depends. Let me share with you. And I'm going to talk about some of the people that do make money selling prints, but there's a gotcha on how they do it. So I'll do that toward the end here. But how much I sell things for? Well, it depends, because when I was doing weddings, it was a package deal. They got an album, and then sometimes they would get a large print. So it was part of the package. But when I was shooting kids, and I don't know how long you've been watching this channel, but I'll put an example up because I get inspired by like a Norman Rockwell type style. So a lot of times 80% of my work with children looked like this. I don't know which side I'll have it on, but like that. And this is it's not a client print. This is my personal, sort of like a painting print, but I don't know if that's going to show up or not. Hopefully it does. This is a 16 by 24. This was a standard size, and it was always that way, that size like that. Hopefully we can see that. What bothers me, well, one, the company that I used for this is no longer in business. They were bought out by their competition. They were so good. I used them for about almost 15 years. And that print right there with that wooden frame, and it comes in like a black frame and like a walnut frame, would cost me around $60-some, and that's it. The company was bought out this year. I think May was the last month, and starting in June 1st, the company that bought them up just basically doubled the price of everything. And So, but I'm glad I retired. I stopped doing client work last year, but I sold those prints all the time to my clients, and those prints would go for $295, and I had a $75 sitting fee, and I can knock out the image in less than an hour after the photo shoot. The photo shoot didn't last that long because I'm looking for that one image. Now, I did give discounts because a lot of times I would show up and I'm shooting not a single child, it might be two, like a brother or sister, maybe they're a couple years apart. So I would make sure that they would get a print, and they know that they can only buy a print, and because they've seen it from other clients and stuff. Because having a print on a wall is like your business card on a wall, and just helps promote, because people ask who did that, and it's very unique look and stuff and style that I was doing, and it just worked for me. And so if they had like two siblings, whatever, I would do a shot for each one, and then I'd do a third one with the two of them together. So they would have the individual and the two together. So I'm selling three. Well, I would discount the prints, and it's up to you and how far you would do something like that. I also once in a while the reason I would charge a sitting fee is I didn't charge a sitting fee if they came to my home studio. When you're dealing with kids, it's a pain in the for the parent to gather the stuff they need, change of clothes or whatever it is, to come to a stranger's place for the kid, and they're not maybe comfortable being there, where they're more comfortable at home. So I always offered that I can come out to your home, but it's a $75 sitting fee. If you want to save the $75, you have to come to my place. I found that most of the time I was going to the locations. Now, sometimes I would discount the sitting fee because I just threw this out when they said, hey, I've got a neighbor that has a couple kids. She's interested in having this done too. So I'd say, well, do this. The two of you talk together, pick a date, pick one location, whose house I'll be at, and I can reduce the sitting fee 50%, whatever, because I'm there and it's not a big deal. So I did that. So over the time, I only did this twice, and that is I shot 7 kids from 3 different families in the one location. Otherwise, it was always like 2 families, but most of the time I was just doing single ones. But anyhow, yes, so I sold prints, but it wasn't like I've got a series of, I'm not a landscape photographer, right? So it's not like I have these fine art prints and I'm gonna have a gallery and sell that online and stuff. Good luck with that. Very few people could do that. Now, here's the exception to the rule, and that is if you have a YouTube channel and you got 100,000 followers on your channel, because I know some people that I watch just for fun in that, and they put on, they're making money, real good money, or at least decent money on YouTube, but to supplement even more income, they'll do a live workshop. They'll take a small group out somewhere to some country, whatever, to shoot. And again, very expensive, but they make money at doing that. And then they also, because they've been around for a while and they have a huge following, they sell prints online, but mainly they'll put a book together, a tabletop book, every couple of years or 3 years of their favorite images with a little background information about those images, and they would sell the book. So that's income for them. Also, a lot of them do a yearly calendar. And so every year they're putting out a calendar. Like right now they're prepping probably for the 2027 calendar, and they offer a limited edition, and a lot of them they'll sign it and that kind of stuff. So that's the the exception for selling, but you have to have a huge following. So it's virtually almost impossible to get a show in a gallery, because galleries are there to make money, not to lose money. So usually it's got to be a well-known person, a celebrity. I'll give you an example of a celebrity. I bought this book about 2 years ago. I think this came out about 2.5 years ago. It's by Paul McCartney, 1964, Eyes of the Storm. It's when he came to America, and it's just a whole bunch of pictures and things that he took with stories behind it. And I was watching a video on YouTube, and they had a big gallery showing, and the gallery selected certain images and had large prints put up, and he signed it. And then you're going to have I don't know how many people, hundreds of people showing up at the gallery, but it's always going to be upper middle class people and upper class people that attend these things because they're not cheap. And because it's a, quote, celebrity, a lot of times they're limited to the amount of people that can come in. And what they'll do is they'll have a meet and greet where they're going to serve you wine and champagne and hors d'oeuvres and stuff. They're paying for that. They have to have a special ticket to get in for that. And then they want to hobnob with, Paul McCartney. And then they want to rub elbows with them and say, hey, I bought one of the prints, blah, blah, blah. And it becomes a status symbol for them having that print in their home signed by Paul McCartney, who they actually met, at the gallery. So who does that kind of stuff? Not your average person. Okay, it's going to be the upper middle class and upper class people that will actually do that. So that's, I think that was the last thing, the questions that you had. Yeah, for how much and where. Well, where is my clients? Okay, and if anybody can help Darlene with, if there's a service out there that'll help promote artwork, if that's what you're trying to sell. But I think the easiest way to make money in photography that you can get off to a quick start fast is photographing people. And again, it's your skill level, your uniqueness, it's your market, what other photographers maybe are charging, really dictates your pricing. But if you don't like photographing people, then I was just going to say good luck. I mean, it's going to be tough. Not that it can't be done, but it's not going to be instant money. That's the problem. So be careful if you're searching for a service out there. Once again, anybody, if you know of a decent service that tends to do a good job on promoting people's work to sell, and obviously their organization takes a cut for that, but put it in the comments and maybe help Darlene out. Okay, so that's about it. We'll get back to our normal stuff on Wednesday. Thanks again, people. Talk to you later.